Spain has announced it will not be joining the US-led coalition to protect commercial vessels traveling through the Red Sea against the attacks from Yemen's Houthi rebels. Iran's Foreign Minister Hussein Amir-Abdollahian has meanwhile denied US accusations that they were involved in planning attacks by rebel movement on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Senior researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute Naéem Jeenah joins us for more on the story. Mr. Jeenah, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Well, Spain recently announced that it would not join the US-led coalition to protect the Red Sea shipping from Houthi attacks. Can you shed some light on the factors that are influencing Spain's decision, especially considering the ambiguity in the government stance?
Well, it's a curious development. It's Spain and another European country as well. It seems quite possible that Lloyd Austin, the American Secretary of Defense, kind of jumped the gun, in a sense, pardon the pun, in launching this coalition without ensuring that everyone was fully on board to it, in order to kind of give a strong intimidatory message to the Houthis in Yemen, and so launched the coalition on his trip to the Middle East to say that this will not be tolerated anymore, the attacks by the Houthis on shipping, etc. And slowly the coalition is now unraveling. The United States also is unsure whether it has the requisite number of ships, for example, to enforce the ban on the Houthis as they want to do. So I think a lot about it was done in a rushed way in order to send a signal without the necessary planning behind it.
So the multinational naval force created to protect maritime traffic through the Red Sea, it also appears to be facing a number of challenges, with France, Italy, as well as Spain withdrawing. How might this impact the effectiveness and also the objectiveness of the coalition, and what are the potential repercussions here?
Well, it means that the coalition virtually doesn't exist. The countries that are left now in the coalition, and even with the three that have withdrawn, it's a coalition that has already existed, the United States and its allies. Even in the Middle East, even not all of its allies have joined. The stated goals of the coalition to prevent the Houthis from threatening shipping in the Red Sea, etc., those goals are not going to be met as the Americans would like it to be met. And the idea that they would firstly protect shipping, but secondly and importantly, protect Israel and its shipping routes, that's not going to happen. This round, clearly, whether that's the same in future rounds, but this rounds, the Yemenis have won.
I want us to zoom a bit closer into the U.S.'s role here. The United States has been actively involved in addressing the Houthi attacks and also securing maritime routes. How has the U.S. navigated political and military dilemmas in the region, and what diplomatic efforts have been made to address the situation?
Well, I think the diplomatic efforts, for one thing, it seems that they just, as I said, got on board countries that have already been allies. But even in that group of countries in the Middle East, or not all of those countries joined. The only Middle Eastern country that is part of this coalition is Bahrain. Saudi Arabia has not joined. None of the other Gulf states have joined. None of the others are willing to go head to head, basically, with the Yemenis. I would have thought that there would be much more engagement by the U.S. with its allies in order to put the coalition together. That has not happened. There wasn't enough preparation, and the attempt at intimidating the Yemenis, I think, has really fallen flat.
So some major players, including China, Saudi Arabia, as well as Egypt, have also declined participation in this coalition. How does the reluctance of these nations impact the geopolitical landscape in the region? And what role do you see for international cooperation in resolving the Red Sea crisis?
So it's interesting because China, of course, has a lot to lose from its goods not being able to pass through the Red Sea, and stuff coming to China from Europe, etc. But it's taken a hands-off approach on this one, and I think that the message that is being sent to the United States is that if you want a war, then go ahead, but we're not interested in being part of your war, even if, as I said, China has a lot to lose from this. And so in a sense, the US is being left almost on its own in order to deal with this. In terms of how to resolve the situation, the Yemenis who are at the heart of this have made it clear what resolving the situation would mean. They are conducting their activities and their attacks against the ships. And really, one ship has been taken over. There hasn't been much damage caused. It's the intimidation of their activity rather than any concrete effect. The intimidation meaning that, insurance companies are now no longer willing to insure ships going through there, and so big shipping companies are deciding to use alternate routes. But what they are saying, what the Yemenis are saying, is they will only stand down if the Israelis stand down and have a ceasefire in Gaza. Their acts are acts of solidarity, they are saying. And as soon as the Israelis stop the bombing of Gaza, then they too will stop, and traffic will be allowed to proceed unhindered through the Red Sea. So in a sense, this is the kind of external pressure that is being brought to bear on Israel and the United States. To say that the Palestinians are not left on their own, that they do have support from elsewhere. And that is what they are saying is the way to resolve the situation.
Mr. Jeenah, as we wrap up our conversation, and also given these current dynamics that you've highlighted, what are the potential future scenarios for the Red Sea region?
Well, I think in the immediate term, as soon as there is a ceasefire, things will return to normal meaning what they were a few weeks ago. But as long as the United States prevents a ceasefire from being decided on by the UN Security Council, we know the last General Assembly vote on this issue, 153 countries voted for a ceasefire, and 4 countries, the US, Israel, and 2 others, voted against it. As long as the United States continues to do that, that Red Sea area will continue to be a flashpoint, and the Houthis are clearly not going to step down. They've basically said to the Americans, bring it on. In the long term, it's a difficult situation because there are a few choke points in the international supply chain that are very fragile. The Red Sea area is one, the Straits of Hormuz and others. And there really isn't any way to address the issues that might arise there, except to ensure that you keep the people there happy. And keeping them happy is not a vain thing. People in Yemen who can effectively, as we see now, exert control over an important choke point in the international shipping routes, are among the poorest people in the world, and being bombed for years by the Saudis until a recent ceasefire with the American support. And so keeping people around there happy means ensuring that their own rights are preserved and realized, and they don't endure the kind of suffering that they do. And with the Red Sea, it's of course on both sides of the Red Sea, not only on the Yemeni side. But in the immediate term, we need a ceasefire in Palestine. The Israelis need to stop bombing Gaza, need to stop arresting and killing people in the West Bank, and the Yemenis will cease their attacks.
Mr. Jeenah, let me thank you for your time and sharing your insights into the complex issues surrounding the Red Sea and the challenges faced by the international coalition. Of course, he speaks for the Mapungubwe Institute as well. He's a researcher there.